How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the Baseline Interdiction Podcast. We're back for a round two after some lovely feedback we've gotten from you guys. And, when we first got into this, we didn't know how often and how frequent we'd come back and do some podcasts, but we got some good reactions out of it. So, given about 2 weeks from our first initial release and a copyright strike later, we're we're back doing it, and we want to continue to do this with you guys. And honestly, I kind of really like doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty
I,
cool.
I see you pretty frequently, but at times like this, like on my way over here, I was like, I'm really excited for this.
Yeah.
I like talking to you, and it's a good time. How you been, Devontae?
Good. Um, it's been a lot. It's been very, very slow at work today. This week, sorry. With the cold weather. It's
It is
insane.
freezing.
There's tumbleweeds rolling around.
Well,
And our agency isn't anything crazy, but like we're usually pretty steady. Getting into some good stuff. It's like there's not even cars on the road right now. So it's
when it's -5 degrees
yeah.
outside, I don't even want to get out of
And then
bed.
it's like you want to get out and do something and you can't because there's a couple times this week where I'm searching a car and my hands are frozen and I'm getting back in my car and they're burning and it's like, oh my goodness.
I was writing a ticket the other day, and I went up to the car, and I'm over here like trying to run the person's information, and I'm over here like shaking my hand, and it's like it fell out of my hand because I had my gloves on, and I was
Yeah,
like, 1 minute, don't grab a gun or anything. I got to bend over and grab it because
yeah,
I was freezing. And after that, I was like, maybe today's just not the day.
right.
It's not the day to do
Yeah.
anything. Um,
What's up with you? Besides getting dusted in pursuits?
I'll start with you, dude.
What's going
We'll
on?
get into that here today. Life just kind of sucks lately. A deer ran into my truck the other day. So that's a lot of money that I have to deal with when I.
We've been telling him for a while that this truck is bad news and he just needs to just get rid of it. There's been numerous incidents with this truck and it's probably not a good thing.
Well, I started with a
Go,
Ram.
go get a Prius.
Listen, I started with a Ram. Little backstory. I started with a Ram. Went through two motors in that one that blew up. One of them, not my fault. Second one was a dealership fault. Third one, I just didn't trust it anymore, so I got rid of it. Switched over to a GM product, and I've gone through two engines with.
Still not having any luck.
Went through two engines with that one, and
Wow.
then I finally get it back after 2 months. And on my way home this week, a deer decides to run right into the side of it. So it's not great. My washer and dryer went out too this
Hmm.
week, so it's another couple $1,000s to replace those.
Yeah. Well, I just recently had to get one of those socks that go on the end of your washer cord. With two dogs, the hair is insane. So, my main drain is like backed up twice now, and I had to go rent like a commercial snake and snake it. It's been a nightmare. Half the basement flooded the one time. So I finally ordered those. So I'm gonna put that on so I don't have to worry about the snake anymore.
Have you tried a lint roller?
Uh,
Yeah, maybe a
Listen,
lint
my
roller.
dogs go with me everywhere I go. Even if they're not with me, they're on me.
Mm,
So
okay.
it is what it is.
And listen, don't start with this whole people getting away from me. Okay, this guy has been a menace. Okay, I tried, and somehow in his little piece of shit beater
Yeah,
managed to get away from us. Not once, not twice, but 3 times.
it is what it
And
is.
eventually we'll get to him.
You know what they say? It's their job to get lucky every time. It's our job to get lucky once.
Listen, I kind of have a thought process now that like we'll get to him. I just hope this guy knows that if I see him again, I'm not letting him get away, and I will do everything I can to keep my car straight to make sure he doesn't get away. Because
Yeah.
it's been a frustrating week. Since I've worked at since I've worked at the agency that we work for, I've been batting 100 and nobody's gotten away from me, and it's been eating at me that this guy has gotten away from me so many times.
Yeah.
But I am grateful that our agency still allows us to pursue because a lot of people can't
For sure.
speak on that.
For sure.
Do you watch the national championship game?
A little bit. I'm not a fan of Mendoza at all.
He was
Absolutely
overrated.
hate him. But the last play where he ran,
That was a big play.
it was pretty cool.
That was like his
It
Heisman
was pretty
moment.
cool.
I think that's like his NFL moment.
But
You think he's going to go number one overall?
no,
No.
no.
You think he's going to slide?
Well, the thing is it's just like from high school to college, there's going to be that big jump. I feel like he's going to have a big jump. He's going to have a rude awakening. It's not going to be like
Well, you're
college football.
you're a Bama fan too, so like your
Is
team
what it
kind of
is.
sucks. So
It is what it is.
were you rooting for?
There's been better years.
Were you rooting for Miami or were you rooting for Indiana?
I really didn't care.
You didn't care.
Didn't care.
I gotta keep within the Big Ten. Big
Yeah.
Buckeye fan here, so I wanted to see Indiana win. I'm happy for them, especially when a team goes from being one of the most biggest laughing stocks in college football to
Yeah, for sure.
a national championship winner. It's It's interesting.
Absolutely.
It's good to know.
Something I want to remind you guys, our class, February 27th, it is getting full. There's multiple people every day signing up. So, don't be last. Get your agency request in or just take your own time and come.
Yeah, we're
Um,
about 24 hours in of posting that announcement. Even
that's
for a
about
recent podcast, we filled about half the class
Yeah.
already.
So
And
there's a couple stragglers now, but it's getting up there. Still got a month left. I won't be surprised if it sells out. So, get in there. Today's episode is it's kind of about the myths within law enforcement. Some of the things you hear civilians say, most when you're on traffic stops with them, or sometimes even cops who aren't trained or don't know any better. So we'll start off. I'll bring up like a topic or a myth. We'll talk about the realities and things that we've seen in our experience and kind of how it ties in.
Mhm.
The first one, it's probably the most common one you hear from administrations and things. It's um, proactive policing creates more complaints. So what could you say about that? I know what I gotta say. I agree 100%. My stand on this is if you're not getting complaints, if you don't have people coming down complaining about you, if you don't hear the "you're harassing me," you're not doing your job. That's as simple. Our job isn't to be liked. It's to do a job. Um, and when I say complaints and people coming down, I'm talking about like legitimate, like the bullshit complaints where somebody comes down and he's like, "Yeah, Joe Schmo, this officer did this to me. He did that."
sexual
Like
harassment.
this isn't like actually violating somebody's rights,
Yeah,
or
that's different. We don't want to do
you
that.
got an extra punch in, and
Yeah,
not anything like that. And for the cops out there, you know what I'm referring to.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, obviously, the more proactive you are, the more you're putting yourself in contact with the
right,
community. Your good people and your people that you like to cause problems. It definitely could be seen as though that you're going to have more reactions based on how you handle yourself.
for sure.
But there's also ways around that. I mean, there's times where I've arrested people, and I mean, I'm a very proactive person. You're a very proactive person. You know, sometimes
Yeah,
people thank you. I mean, that's one of the biggest reasons why I got into law enforcement was, regardless of how my interaction goes with them, I want to make an impact on their life in some way, shape, or form, whether it be the most minute thing of like, you know what, I realized I messed up today. Hopefully, I can be on a better path. Do they usually do that? Absolutely not. Sometimes the revisitism of the people we deal with, especially as local agencies, and is we see a lot of the same people. But just because you're going out there and doing your job doesn't mean you're not going to generate complaints.
right,
And that's why no matter who you're dealing with, and as long as you are being proactive in the right ways. I mean, especially in our class, we talk about how to talk to people, respect. Even if situations get elevated and heightened, you got to bring it back down eventually, because you don't want to stay in that elevated state, regardless of how someone's treating you. We have to maintain that level of professionalism, as best as we can. And, just because we're going out there and putting people in jail for things that they're not supposed to be doing doesn't mean that we need to treat them like they're a piece of shit. Um, but the people that say like we're harassing, well, there's a reason why we're watching you.
right, for sure.
There's a reason why we know who you are. There's a reason why, we're keeping tabs on you. Um, Obviously, it gets to a point where, like, you know, harassment and targeting can be a bit excessive, but at the same time, like, if you do your job correctly, like, it doesn't, it shouldn't, it, you're not going to see these complaints.
I go to calls sometimes where I deal with juveniles, and it's more so you're calling the cops for us to be your kid's parent. But I'll explain to them like, listen, being so young, getting started in the criminal justice system is a bad thing because if you slowly become a shithead, and you're in trouble for something, or you're a gun toucher, or you're walking around with the wrong people, every time we see you as law enforcement, we're gonna run your name. 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have a warrant for something stupid, and it just progresses and keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. So, like you're saying, like, there's usually a reason why we're constantly on your ass. And I mean,
Yeah,
it's
like
just,
if the last 3 times we dealt with you, you had drugs on you,
right.
or like the last 3 times we dealt with you, you had a gun in the car. Like, I'm sorry you're mad at me
Yeah.
that I'm stopping you a fourth time. Like
Right.
I'm sorry that the odds are actually in my favor,
Absolutely.
and not in your favor. It's just it's funny how they think sometimes. Like they think, "Oh man, yeah, just because I got hit the past 3 times, you shouldn't be trying to get me the fourth time." Like, no, just it doesn't matter how many times we've gotten you. Like, if you're gonna keep doing the dumb stuff, we're gonna keep arresting you. Like, so it's funny seeing how their brain works sometimes. They're like, this is bullshit.
Right.
No, like, why don't you quit doing dumb
It's
shit?
the name of the game. It's the name of the game.
It's the name of the game. I mean,
Um,
another myth. I mean, that one was kind of funny. Another myth. You know, the academy prepares you for the streets.
the biggest myth.
The biggest, the
Um,
academy should teach you everything. Officers need more time in the academy. The academy should be longer. People got they should know how to be taught in the academy, and I think that's one of the biggest lies in all of law enforcement. I have my opinions. What's your opinion on that one, buddy?
so no, for sure, biggest myth. I know where we're at in the state of Ohio, our academy. I think it's up thousands of hours just since I went. Um, but I don't remember a time where they actually taught you about behaviors or signs of deception or just anything interdiction related. Now I get it. It's a basic academy for a reason. But there's some safety concerns that come into this, and you're dealing with the high profile drug dealers, even the high profile criminals, or dealing with people that are touching guns, gangbangers, this and that. There's something that needs to be said about that, and I think we don't spend enough time on that. Also, case law. You'll get like a little bit of case law. I don't really remember much. It's basically the Tennessee versus Garner and Graham v. Connor. But other than that, like they don't go into depth with different case law. Now, case law changes a lot, so I can see where that can become an issue, but you should still know the standard of case law, how it works, how it comes about, and things like that. So
I think we talked about it too in our first episode. Like the academy teaches you very much to be robotic.
for sure,
And a lot of like their practices and their teachings, even when it comes down to the bare basics of just officer safety, is very outdated. You know, you they don't really harp on passenger side approach. They don't really harp on, the proper ways to, control the situation. They try, and listen, the reality is it's a very much a necessity. The academy is a need. However, I mean, if you are a cop and you only go to the police academy and that's the only piece of training that you rely on a day-to-day basis, like you're at such a disadvantage. Like a, a criminal that's been a criminal for 10 years is going to have more experience in the streets than you do.
absolutely.
And that's what the point of not only our classes, but these other classes that teach you these things is the reality is they show the most bare bone, stripped down, basic ways of being a cop. And some ways that are, like I said, outdated. And it's just it doesn't prepare you. I mean, I think a lot of us can sit here and say, like, what is one thing that you would say that, like, you truly remember and still practice to this day that you learned from the academy?
Yeah.
Like, can you think of an answer for that?
No, truthfully, no.
Like,
You're not going to remember the crimes and statutes. You're not going to remember all that. That just comes with on the job experience. And still this day, like I'm not going to ramble off a bunch of
ORC codes.
ORC codes. That's not
No, I mean, I just
realistic
think
at all.
we still Google statutes and pull up the state ORC when we need it, but it's like it doesn't prepare you, not even the slightest. And
Ethics and hug a thug 101. That's what I remember.
yeah, I mean, I think when I was in the academy, and especially like I was in the academy during a COVID time, so like get this, we did pat downs and searches virtually.
No way. That's insane.
Tell me how that prepared me for the streets. We had a virtual class. I remember to this day, I was in my parents' basement watching an instructor on a little picture on the right side of the screen go over diagrams of how to properly pat down and search people.
That's unreal.
Like,
Unreal.
and let me tell you, guys, I knew from then and there how to be a cop. that that prepared me, and so no, like that. Again, academy instructors, a lot of credit, but there's so much more to this job that you learn from not only field training but going to other trainings that are not even advanced.
And that's experience.
Yeah.
We tell people go out there and make those contacts with people. That's the only way you're going to learn. Is get that experience. You
Mhm.
do something 10 times, it's going to start to click once you get into the upper teens of those sides, just
I mean,
you got to do it.
they say you don't know actually like you're not comfortable being a cop until I mean they say 5 years in.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm at that 5 year mark. You're at that 7 year mark.
yeah,
Like, there's still things that you see that you've never seen before, and you're like, "Whoa!" You got to take a step back, rely back on something that kind of can relate to in some way.
for sure.
But I don't think I've ever sat down and was like, "Okay, I can pull this back to my time at the academy."
Right.
Like,
Well, going into that, so like when you're talking about searches and stuff, one of the biggest myths um are the some people in the public, they believe like, and some officers, um if somebody denies consent, they have something to hide. Or if, they don't have anything to hide, they should just consent. I think the reality is like people have rights.
mm,
Um, I'll be the first to say, like, hopefully I don't get pulled over. But no, all seriousness, like if I'm just a law abiding citizen and a cop pulls me over and asks to search my car, and let's say it's a day like today where it's
5 degrees
5 degrees outside, I'm probably gonna tell you, no, man, I just want to go home.
Yeah.
No, does that mean I have something to hide? And if I don't have something to hide, which I don't, should I just let them do it? And that's far from the truth. Like I said, some cops are in denial about that. They'll go up to the car and they'll ask for consent, and the person will say, yeah, but they're seeing all these other signs we talk about, and they'll say, yeah, no, see you later.
Mhm.
And they fooled you because
Yeah,
they
because
think,
they think that if you give consent,
right,
you have nothing. Like,
you have,
just, I mean, listen, working that smaller agency that I worked for 3.5 years, we didn't have a dog, and you basically work part time sometimes. So like, there,
right, right,
so our handlers like to go on vacations and work part time. So like, there's a lot of times where you're gonna have to rely on consent, and just because someone gives you consent doesn't mean they're squeaky clean. I mean, if you're still picking up on the behaviors and the abnormalities of things, like I can't tell you how many times where like I've asked for consent and still found something. And even 9 times out of 10, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I forgot that was in there," or like, or even when you get them out of the car, consent to search someone's person too.
right,
Like they think that they try it's almost like the mind game that they try to play of like, well, if I give consent, he's gonna think that I have nothing going on, which there's definitely times where like, I usually always ask for consent. It doesn't mean I'm gonna search the car
for
if
sure.
I'm looking for other things, like, but denying consent in and itself does not automatically mean that that person's guilty or not guilty of
Well,
something.
coming from like what you said is the biggest pet peeve that we have as canine handlers, and me and another handler were just talking about this last week. If somebody denies consent, that automatically means they're guilty, and I'm going to call a dog. I'm not going to do any other roadside investigation. I'm just going to call a dog because that's where we're going to have a dick measuring contest, and it's going to be I'm going to get in your car, and if you do have something, I'm going to call this dog, which cannot be the case at all.
Well, especially like
Um,
for a canine handler. You don't wanna if you got dispatched to, like, a stop, right, and the person that you go up to the officer, you're like, "Alright, what do you got?" And all they say is,
they deny
"They
consent.
deny consent."
Happens all the time.
Whoop-de fucking do. Like, what else you got, buddy? Like, you got something else to tell
Yeah.
me?
Right.
Like, if you tell me to deny consent, I'll be like, "Okay." Like, listen, I mean, I'm not gonna be the one, when the defense attorney asks, "Well, why was" like, obviously, like, we're gonna get into it later about, needing reasons of why you can deploy a dog or, can you deploy a dog on certain things, but, like, if you wanna at least have some form
For
of
sure.
reasonable suspicion
Yeah.
outside of just whether they consented or not, like,
Right.
because you don't wanna look like the jackass up on the stand where you're like and the defense attorney's like, "Okay, well, why did you feel the need to call for a canine officer?" And you go, "Hmm, it's a great question. Let me hit you with this one, defense attorney. They denied consent." You know what they're gonna tell you? They're gonna be like, "But doesn't my defendant have the right to deny consent?" And you're gonna be like, "Yeah, but, like, it's suspicious." Like, no, like, you have to be
It's
able to articulate other things. So, like, denying consent or giving consent, like, yes, like, it's nice if people consented, but, like, if they deny consent, like, first of all, here's a couple I'll name off a couple things, right? If it's 5 degrees outside,
mhm,
I don't care who you are. I wanna get the fuck home because
right.
I mean, I was driving home last night at, like, 12:30, and, like, it was, like, -8 degrees outside. Like, if I got stopped and first of all, the ball's on you to stop me and walk to my car in negative
For
8
for
degrees,
sure.
because the fact that I even have to lower my window down to the point of where, like, my water bottles in my center console are freezing with how cold it is. Second of all, like, I'm not. I don't want to stand out in the cold. I know you
Yeah.
don't want to stand out in the cold.
Sure.
Like, second of all, if I have to like take a shit or if I have to go to the bathroom, like I'm not waiting 10, 15 minutes for you to go through my car
To find nothing
to find nothing. Like,
and
or
waste everybody's time.
yeah, and like the reality is like when people are traveling or going places, like they have somewhere to be,
Mhm.
and like I, I'm taking time out of my day when I'm probably already running late because that's the type of person I am, to let you search my car because you think I'm suspicious just because I denied you consent. And there's also times where like, what's the proper response when person like like there's definitely some people out there like when people like deny consent, they're like, well, why? It doesn't fucking matter why.
Right.
Like
Because I'm a U.S. citizen and I have the right.
exactly it's their right. Like
If I go on a road trip tomorrow and I get pulled over and I have all my luggage in my car and some schmuck says, "Hey, I'm gonna search your car." No, you're not. I'm gonna call a dog. Okay, call him.
yeah. He's gonna sniff? Jack shit. He'll smell my fucking smelly shoe in the back seat. Guess what? That don't give you fucking PC to search my car. So like it's definitely one of the biggest myths out there. Like use other things. Develop the reasonable suspicion. Like you just brought up trips. Like, oh, I'm driving to so and so for a couple days. Well, or a week, and my luggage is in the back seat, and you have a backpack, and that's all you have.
Yeah.
That's a little bit more suspicious because the luggage that you have for the expected amount of time that you're supposed to spend on the trip doesn't make sense. Not just because he denied consent.
Well, the biggest thing too is it turns into the next myth is that cops just want to arrest people. Cops just want to arrest people. They're just
We're just here to
Okay.
piss people off and take people to jail. No.
when in reality, traffic stops they end in warnings or education.
Hmm?
And when I say education, I'm meaning now you know why your fucking 98 Toyota Corolla is getting stopped every single weekend you're out driving at 3 a.m.
Mhm.
because of the white light to the rear or the busted registration light, the license plate light,
License plate's
or
expired.
your exhaust is dragging on the ground. Now, I'm not saying that's a whole nother topic we'll talk about choosing cars. We don't choose cars, we choose behaviors.
Yeah.
Don't care about the car. Don't care if you're in a Tesla or a Ford Escort.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's for another day. But education meaning like you're just now you're explaining to them why you stopped them. You're creating that good rapport, and you're sending them on their way
Knowledge is power
for sure.
in this line of work. Like you're learning about, especially like I said, working local roads and
I
local
put
streets.
a nice paper with my list on it.
Huh. Let me do the same here because quick little.
My
Don't worry, guys. We prepared for this. Trust me. Okay. All right.
yeah,
Knowledge is power. And what does that mean? That means that, you know, you're stopping a car, either yes on behaviors or what we preach, you're learning to work your craft.
right.
So you're going up, you're stopping someone, and I'll be honest, I hate writing tickets.
Absolutely.
I am not like obviously there's a point where like if you egregiously violate the law, I'm gonna write you a ticket. However, like n- uh, the majority of my stops, I don't go up there with the intent of arresting somebody. I'm going up there to with the mission to gain knowledge. Knowledge being who are you? Where are you going? Where are you coming from? What do you do? What is the purpose of your trip? Um, to then be able to develop, is this something that I need to look more into?
Right.
Are there signs of deception? Are there inconsistencies on what you're telling me based on where you were coming from and where you're allegedly heading to? That's where another thing we're a class we're going to go into if you do come is, you know, got to be geographically aware. If, you're telling me like, at least in Northeast Ohio, if you're telling me that you're heading to Cleveland, which is north, and you're heading south, that makes no fucking sense. Like that knowledge is important. So like, I'm not here to strictly stop you and take you to jail. Like, no, I'm stopping you to gather knowledge. I am stopping you to gather information to see if it is something that need to investigate. And it's just being proactive. You can't wait for crime to come to you. You have to go out. You have to stop people because when you stop people, you're also developing rapport if you ever were to see them in another capacity.
Right.
And you'd be surprised with like the amount of times like I made a stop about a month or so ago now. I stopped a car for a mark lane violation, and you know, that stop ended up being an hour and a half long. Do you wanna know why that stop was an hour and a half long? Because the guy wouldn't stop talking to me.
Certified yapper.
Yeah, he was a certified, but, like, he was a great guy,
Yeah.
like, fantastic dude, and him and I he was basically he was a garbage truck driver that has his own little locally owned and operated company. He's like, I don't talk to people very often. He's like, but you, I liked how you presented yourself. You seem like a cool dude. So I wanted to tell you everything about my life. And we sat there on the side of the street, luckily in not 5-degree weather. And I talked with him for an hour and a half. I learned more about him. I learned about who he knew. I learned about what he does on a day to day basis. We talked, we developed a relationship. Hell, I even thought about using him as my new trash guy. Like,
Yeah.
like,
And that's a good point. I'm glad you say that because now let's not to get this confused. When we're saying we're having conversations with people and stuff, what do you say? If it's not a unicorn, don't make it a unicorn.
yeah, like,
If it's not there, kick it down the road. Don't waste your time. However, back to what you're saying with, somebody like that, a small local business owner.
mhm,
What could I get out of this? Because knowledge is power, right?
mhm,
So your small local business owners, um, trash men, let's see, gas station clerks, I don't care, loss prevention, some of the department stores,
mhm,
build a rapport with them because I promise you they'll sing like a bird when you need them to.
yeah, and
Or
you'll probably need them at some point.
I had this one time, I'm driving down the street, I noticed some behavior, this guy on a bike. I pull up to him, try to talk to him. He gets off. No, sorry, I tell him to get off the bike. I'm out of my car. My car is 5 feet behind me. He says no, takes off down the bike down the alley. This was when I was a young lad.
Young,
And what do I do is I chase the bike instead of just stepping back 5 feet and hopping in my cruiser and chasing him in my cruiser. I chase him down. Well, lo and behold, he dusts me on the bike.
shocker.
He just left the gas station. He was in there for probably 10 minutes. I sat in the parking lot across the street, watched him, went in, had a good rapport with the gas station clerk, um, and was able to figure out who he was based on his rewards card that he just scanned prior. So, um, I don't, me personally, I don't like to do this, but there's certain officers that we both know that will exchange social medias or give phone numbers to gas station clerks, and then they'll kind of go on a text thread. You know who you are, so when you listen to this, you'll laugh and you'll probably give me shit for it. Um, but
Yes, but like,
have that good rapport and be able to talk to these people because everybody wants to help a cop out, and they think it's awesome when they can do it. Believe it or not. So have those conversations and build that rapport.
yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing, especially at local agencies, is establishing relationships. Like, yes, for us people who are proactive and like to go out and find things and find people that are committing crime, it is just as important to take the time to get to know the people you're dealing with, not only from a traffic stop encounter, but like consensual encounters as well. Like, there is so much more benefits to one knowing people, developing relationships with those people, and even these people that do commit crime on a day to day basis. Like, there's a guy I stopped a couple nights ago. He's a fan favorite, and saw him for the first time in months. And we've arrested this guy numerous times. Numerous times. I stopped the car. I didn't even know who it was. I stopped the car. I go up and talk to him, and I said, "What is up, my dude?" And he said, Officer Anthony. And him and I had a long, loving conversation. Granted, I towed his car. However, at the end of it, he said, "Man, you've always been good to me. You've always been, so respectful." And he's like, he's like, "There's ever a time you want to grab a beer, I'd drink a beer with you." Would I do that? Probably not. However, like, the, we are not here to arrest people. We are here to develop relationships, not only with the good people, but also the people that are also involved in criminal activity, because they sing like a fish. If they're more willing to sing like a fish if they like you.
Yeah, for sure.
And being real and being a person at the end of the day gets you so much farther in this job than being, I don't know, a badge pusher. So, at knowledge is power.
sure.
That's kind of the biggest one I can go with there. Then the next one, myth, I'll stage this one to you is, you know, when documenting behaviors, articulation is important. Correct or not correct?
Yes. So a lot of things you hear is everyone who's avoiding eye contact is dirty or guilty of something, or um that's very true, but not always true. Um, you'll see numerous times where you're having a conversation with somebody on the side of the road and they'll sit there and talk to you like this the entire time. And if we did this podcast and sat like this and talked the entire time, that would be very weird.
For our video viewers,
And I'm
listeners.
sure everybody would think that that's weird as well. You'd be watching this and being like, what the hell are they doing? That's weird. You don't talk to people like that. You're
Their
engaged.
soul.
However, I'm not going to say that that's not a clue, but it's also not the only clue. You have to be able to articulate the other behaviors behind that clue.
So, like, one of the biggest things, like, we learned from one of our classes that we went to is each of the factors, behaviors, or abnormalities independent in itself, does that mean they're guilty? No. However, the biggest thing in law enforcement, if you put everything together, does that build reasonable suspicion? It does. However, individually, independent of themselves, does that mean that person is engaging in criminal behavior? No. However, if you have multiple behaviors, multiple inconsistencies, multiple problems, then that is where the importance of documenting behaviors matters. But just because someone independently or a single indicator, that you're solely then relying on, that doesn't mean they're involved in criminal behavior. Some people don't like eye contact. Some people are very anxious. Anxiety is a big thing in this country currently. Y- you know, uh, some people
2026.
some people don't like confrontation. So you're going to see a lot of these behaviors that for the normal standard person just doesn't, they're going to act that way.
For sure.
But that's where, the,
Totality of the circumstances.
yes, that's
So, like, when we talk about it, like RV Zoo, all about reasonable suspicion, totality of the circumstances. If I put all these things together, like you're saying, it's going to equal one whole thing to where I'm going to be able to articulate this, whether it be in a report, to my body cam, me narrating to my body camera, or explaining it to a judge or a defense attorney during a court hearing. It's all going to work out once you put it all together. So,
Well-
one myth: criminals always look nervous.
that kind of ties back into the one we were just on. Criminals always look nervous. If they're nervous, that means they're a criminal.
And we talked about this in our last podcast.
Wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Because why is that?
If I'm Joe Blow, which I'm sure you guys heard about Joe Blow,
Yes.
and I've been to prison, jail, county jail. I got 30, pictures of my bookends.
Lengthy criminal history.
Right. I've been through this process numerous times. I know different ways to beat it. I know what works and what doesn't work. I know what that officer articulated in his report because I got it in my discovery when they set my ass down the road to prison. So I know what they're looking for. So now I'm going to make sure I don't do those things. It's the same thing as like if you're a teenager and you're sneaking around going places you shouldn't be with your parents. If you get caught this time because they checked your location, well, next time you're going to make sure you leave your phone at home or you're going to turn your location off.
So what does that mean? Criminals learn.
Right. Experience.
Experience.
And I don't know if we said it last time. I was just having a conversation with somebody about this the other day, but it's crazy. Some criminals have more experience than cops nowadays. And it's not a bad thing, but they learn as well. So if you're not taking the time to invest in yourself and learn, you're going to be still stuck here.
We're not the only ones with training and experience.
Right.
These criminals that have been doing it for a long time, like that's their lifestyle. They know how to be calm. Like a lot of your bigger interdiction classes, they preach on abnormalities and, they make these stops on the interstate. And a lot of these times, those people that are carrying those narcotics are just messengers that generally are day-to-day people that are trying to make money. So you're going to see a lot more nervousness from people. So the best way to describe this, like you're going to see a lot more nervousness from someone that it is like they know they're doing something wrong and they're uncomfortable with it. but you're criminals that have been doing this for their entire life. They're comfortable being a criminal. They know what we're looking for. So you're not gonna be able to pick up on as much nervous behavior because, 1, they've been through it and they know how to do it.
And half the time they're just throwing shit up and hoping it works.
And
Making mistakes.
And you ready for the biggest piece of advice or the biggest stickler with that one? Criminals don't get caught every time they be a criminal.
Yeah, for sure.
So like, yes, they've been caught, but just take a minute and think about how many times have they not been caught?
Right, for sure.
Because they've either beat an officer by outsmarting them.
And sometimes beat multiple officers with the same trick. I've seen that.
Exactly. So, like, they have ways just like we have ways.
For sure.
So, like, they know they know the game, we know the game. It's a chess match. So you're not gonna listen, you'll run into a big one every now and then and it's gonna be easy. But those ones where, like, they're intelligent and they're smart with it, the satisfaction of putting someone away like that or catching them trumps all, because you went head to head with someone that had their own strategies and ways that they have done their entire life. And like I said, they haven't been caught every time, but, like, just they're comfortable,
Right,
and
for sure.
you got to be able to outsmart them. So no, not every criminal is nervous,
Okay.
and that's where it's going to rely on other things, other abnormalities, a lot of nonverbal things that we're going to teach you how to pick up on. Hopefully,
If you refuse consent, cops must let you go. Yes and no.
obviously, yes, no, okay. This one, all right. Here's where, if you refuse to consent, like, okay, yes, to a certain extent. Here's why. Consensual encounters. Okay.
Right.
If you get told to kick rocks during a consensual encounter, guess what?
You better
I'm
get
sorry to,
happy while doing it.
yeah, I'm sorry if you want to, for your pride people out there with big egos, if you get told to kick rocks based on a consensual encounter, swallow the pride, go find the smallest rock so you don't hurt your foot and kick it as far as you can. And guess what? Those times happen. And guess what? When you know that they were doing something they shouldn't, and you tried, you tried to go for the big one based on nothing. Kick rocks. And
yeah.
don't push it. There will be another time. Okay. However, if you have probable cause and reasons to have them stopped, or if you have enough reasonable suspicion to then delay your stop, just because they deny consent doesn't mean we have to let you go. There are other things that we can do to continue to gather information and knowledge to not only extend,
but articulate why you're extending that.
Yes, that's the importance of it, which is documentation. There are other ways to go around it to where we don't have to let you go immediately. That way, so we can wait for other resources such as canines, or while speaking to them, while gathering other information and throwing in the occasional question, while gathering what you need for your citation, or, whatever else lawfully that you are doing, you can keep getting to eventually maybe get you where you want. But just because they refuse consent, we don't have to let you go. However, consensual encounters, as much as we hate losing and as much as we hate kicking rocks, if you get told to kick rocks or pound salt, pound salt.
Right.
So, next one. Police need a warrant to search your car. Do we need a warrant to search your car?
So I can't speak for
Every state.
all 50 states.
Because some states are weird.
Because some states are. But thank God we have this beautiful thing called the automobile exception. We also have PC. We have your plain view, which would create PC. Sorry, I'm stuttering on my words a little bit. Then also consent. Like, even being a canine handler, I still ask for consent, even though I have a dog. Consent always wins. Consent's always number one. Take this one lightly, but we also have the vehicle inventory. So, and I say that because that's not I foresee in our future sometime in our career that there's going to be case law created on vehicle inventories because so many people abuse it and they make it known that they're abusing it. Um, so let's not do that.
Mhm.
But
Don't be the one to ruin it for everybody.
build your reasonable and articulable suspicion, and if there's a reason to tow the car, tow the car. Because then you're going to do your vehicle inventory, and but there's a lot of things that get tricky when we go into that.
Biggest thing with that is like when people push back on you, like, well, you need a warrant to search my car. No, we do not. In this state, Ohio, we do
Right.
not. Again, other states can't speak for all 50, but in this state, we do not. So don't, especially when you have, your people that try to pull random case numbers out of their ass or, well, my attorney said you needed this. You don't.
Right.
Okay. But now we can't just go searching cars just because we want to. But if someone pushes back and says you need a warrant to search a car, you don't.
The biggest thing nowadays is like the TikTok attorneys, and people truly believe that. Like they will sit and watch them, and they think, Sammy Sue is the one on TikTok, and he knows everything, and they will like legitimately listen to those videos and think that they are correct. And 9 times out of 10, that's when they get themselves hemmed up, and
Or you have your officers that are uncomfortable and are like, they start second guessing
that is
themselves
the biggest thing.
and they're like, okay, he's saying this, he's saying all the big jargon such as attorney, case law that I'm unfamiliar with, nor do I even know if it truly exists, you know, threatening to sue me, brings in officer fear and second guessing and not trusting your judgment that you're like, okay, obviously you're not gonna be like, all right, you're right. Like, no, you're gonna, all right, they're like, the apple wasn't worth the squeeze and they back down
Right.
and they let them go.
And that's just because they don't know, inexperience. There's one way to obviously get better at that, and that's attend trainings, get with people that know what they're doing, and go get into stuff.
Yeah. I'll ask you this one since you're a lovely puppy handler. A canine sniff is a search.
It's for sure a myth.
Okay, why is it a myth?
So an exterior sniff of a lawfully stopped vehicle is not a search. Um, Obviously running the dog is not a search. You have some people that get weird, and there is the whole thing where if the dog or you touch a car, it's considered a search. There is case law that states though, if you put the dog in a car, it is a search.
Mhm.
Now, if the dog just randomly happens to jump in the window as we're running the car, that's just the nature of the dog, and that's not considered a sniff. I mean, a search. Um, but no, that is not. The biggest thing we hear on the street is, I got to give you PC to run that dog, or even that dog didn't hit, or you can't do that. I don't consent to you running the dog, yada, yada, yada. We don't run our dogs with people inside the car. So that kind of leads into they're sitting in the car, we ask them out. That's a whole nother story. We
Which
ask
we're allowed to
everybody out,
do.
but we're allowed to ask them out.
Yes.
And we have to do so to run the dog. So no, that is not a search. Best believe after we run the dog, we're gonna be searching your shit.
Yeah. If the dog positively in the case, you're cooked.
Yeah.
So just for knowledge, are there any variations of that to where, not like I know you said getting into the car is considered a search. Are there any exterior things that would change it from a free air sniff to a search? I.e., like, for example, you pop the gas cap. Or you
No, no. So you run the dog, you have the positive indication. That car is mine. I could take
no. So what I mean is like you're doing the free air sniff
Mhm.
and your dog hasn't hit yet. Can you pop the gas cap open to maybe get the extra whiff of the
I
dog?
don't recommend doing that. It's kind of odd,
Or like,
but no,
okay, or
do that.
for our tire people that like to load stuff in tires. Okay, is your dog gonna hit on stuff that's in a tire?
That's actually something that we learned and talked about
Mm-hmm.
a lot. No, um, I won't say too much just in case we get some cartel members listening in.
Yep.
No, all seriousness, in case we get somebody listening, and I won't say anything too crazy, but No, a dog would not hit on a tire. I
Okay.
won't go into why, but
Can an officer, the little tire pressure gauge, the little cap to loosen, like, how that,
yeah,
yeah,
the valves, the
yeah,
system covered.
yeah. Can you take that off prior to a free air sniff?
Um, I
No,
mean,
no.
no,
Okay.
but I don't. I'm more so asking. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
I don't know why somebody would.
Yeah.
Um,
Biggest thing I wanted to go there was
kind of odd.
just
But yeah, just don't manipulate anything. You run the car how it is. Usually I'll have people shut the doors. Um, so the dog doesn't jump inside. Now, if the dog jumps inside the window, then all right, I can't help it. I'll call him back out, finish it, and yada yada yada.
Here's another good question for that for our people. Does a canine indication on a vehicle allow you to then search the persons outside of the now?
There's not.
Okay.
And I'll be the first to tell you that was an experience thing for me. My first couple years, we didn't have a dog at my department. So it was talking to people, finding other reasons to get in the car, usually getting consent, and going about it that way. But no, you cannot search
Until
a
you find
person.
another reason,
Yes, for sure.
which,
No, you find something in the car based on the dog alert, you now have search incident to arrest.
yeah, and then now you have PC. Now you can go
Right.
back to searching the people for based on whatever you found in the car. But just want to throw out there that just because a dog hits on a car, if you have now then removed the individuals from the vehicle, you can't go saying, "All right, the dog hit on the car. I'm going to search your pockets."
Right.
It's not how it works. Now, obviously, we teach, when we do get people out of the car, you consensually ask to search their person, which 9 times out of 10, as long as you're respectful, you word it properly. That way, you're not violating rights. You should have already searched their person, or have maybe been able to pat them down consensually for weapons. Maybe you could plain feel something like that. But just want to enforce that just because a dog hits on the car does not mean you can search the people at that point, right? Okay.
Last but not least,
I think we got one more after this, don't we?
no,
Me.
pretextual stops are
We
illegal.
do. There's one more after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretextual stops are illegal. Can you explain what a pretextual stop is?
I
So
I kind of just get frustrated with this one because, like, the way people think they know the law better than us, or the way people think that we're just out here going back to the last one, just out here to arrest people. Like, no, they're not, and it's just it's so frustrating because, like, if there's a reason why we stopped you and you violated something, like, we have reason to stop you, and, like, it's not illegal. I mean, obviously, like, I just that like I said, that one kind of frustrates because that's one of the biggest things I hear. Well, what you
yeah.
did is legal. Um, you're probably better explaining that one than I am because I kind of get
So
tongue twisted with that one.
no, the biggest thing is like, let's say Hunter here, he's a known drug dealer in the city. And I sit on his house and I watch him. I'm like, he's gonna leave. Like I'm gonna get him with some dope. Yada yada yada. That's the reason why I'm stopping him, right? Is because I know he has
But
dope.
yeah, but,
I
like,
get dope.
yeah,
But he comes down to that stop sign on Main Street and he doesn't use his turn signal. He turns northbound, and I go stop him, and I'm stopping him because he didn't use a turn signal. But realistically, I'm stopping him because
yeah,
he's a
which
dope boy.
goes back to articulation of, like, is that something that you can articulate in a report?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Does that help build reasonable suspicion? Yes. However, that's why, like, with the way we teach it is, like, have something else other than just prior knowledge.
Right.
However, prior knowledge, especially when it comes to, observing someone that doesn't have a license, observing someone that's known in criminal activity, like, yes, because at least in Ohio, like, all you need is reasonable suspicion to stop a car. So that in itself is not illegal. However, but, like, we're stopping you for legitimate lawful violations.
Hmm.
You know, Now your history, your things, the area of which you're leaving, the known drug area, high crime area, you know, those are legitimate things that we're stopping you for. But just obviously, the more violations that you have, the more information you have that allows you to then extend a stop, especially if you don't have a concrete violation at that point. So that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Um, Last one now. is if I go outside of the city, I go outside city limits and I hit a certain speed, the cops can't chase me no more. let me let me hit on this one real quick. I had a car back in June that ran for me, and when I finally got him because his brakes went out because he hit a curb and he eventually had to just slow roll into some trees. Um, he goes, I thought local agencies couldn't pursue outside their jurisdiction. And I said, uh-huh. Now, where did you see that? He said, cops, TV shows. And
Yeah.
I was like, you're wrong. And you know what's so funny about that is the backseat passenger literally was like, hey, idiot, I told you,
Where we're at and what agency's chasing us.
yeah, that's not true. And yet you continue to run. And he goes, man, I know. I thought I was right. Like, obviously, like, if it becomes a danger to the safety for us change people, like, yes, like, we're not going to put other people at risk because of your own stupid behaviors. However, just because you leave the city does not mean
I had somebody tell me that they thought once they got over 100 miles an hour that we had to terminate.
no. Game on, buddy. Listen, we're in V8 Durangos for a reason.
Yeah.
Like, game on. Like, again, follow local policies and procedures. Don't listen to us. This is a disclaimer. Follow your own respective protocols. However, no, just because people, because okay, here's another thing, right? If someone passes city limits, okay, and you haven't initiated your stop yet, okay. However, a violation occurred in the city or county of which you work in.
Mhm.
Can you stop them outside the city?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Why is that? Because the violation occurred
Within
in
your
your jurisdiction. And why did you wait to initiate the stop, officer? Well, I didn't feel as though it was a good stop location. There was no safe place for them to pull over. You know, I found a safe place just outside the city. Now, obviously, if you're stopping them and following them way outside the city, that's a problem. Don't do that. But no, just because you cross city limits or one of my favorite, well, I'm in my driveway. Bitch, there ain't no home base. Like, you ain't safe. Like, like, like there, no, that's one of my favorite ones is, "Oh, I thought cops can't chase," or "I thought, you had to stay respectively within your city limits." Like, no, especially, like, if you're chasing, if you're trying to get a stop on a car as soon as they get outside of your city and you already have a violation, don't be like, "Ah, shucks, we crossed the border."
Yeah.
You know? Again,
9 times out of 10, like we talked about with experience, they know when the end of your jurisdiction is.
yeah.
And as soon as you cross that border and they see you flip around, that's a win for them.
Or the lovely street signs that say
Yeah.
leaving this jurisdiction, entering this one that
Right.
we love to put out there for some reason. No, that's not true. I mean, it's don't be discouraged because someone pulls into a gas station, someone pulls into a business, someone pulls into any form of private property or leaves your jurisdiction. If a violation occurred on the public roadway, wherever, like,
I don't give a traffic stop's a traffic stop. There's been times somebody has pulled into a gas station to avoid me, and I've pulled in behind them, and they're halfway in the store, and I hit my lights and pull up to the car, and I get out of the car and walk up to him. Hey, buddy, come back here. This is a traffic stop. What do you mean? I wasn't even. No, it's a traffic stop.
or for this one too,
Um,
is there a statute of limitations on traffic offenses?
I don't know.
Okay. So, for example, you have a car and you have a violation on the road, and car pulls into the gas station. Okay. And you then see that gas for whatever reason you didn't light them up yet. You were still gathering information. You want to see behaviors. You wait to see if they actually went to that business for a legitimate reason, or if they just went into the parking lot to dip you and waited for you to leave. You then see them get back on the road. Can you stop the car for the violation that you observed
Oh, yeah,
prior to them pulling in there?
absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Couple caveats with that. You obviously have to be able to 100% say that that car was the same car. Um, Obviously, you don't want to have a break of visual contact. But just because someone enters a business or a form of private property and your violation occurred prior to that, obviously, what I always recommend is if you think you have something and you observe a violation on a car on the stop that you want, obviously, the way our lights work, the way our dash cams are set up is dash cam goes back a certain amount of time prior to our kick on of our lights. What I like to do is manually start my dash cam when I see the violation, just
That's something I always do.
is manually turn on my dash cam to that way so the violation is initially documented. Because at least for something that we teach, especially in today's climate, if it's not on video, it didn't happen. Officers' words nowadays are going more and more downhill of trustworthy, and if you have the video to back it up, it's always best to have it. So just because someone pulls in or tries to dip you in a business or a parking lot, or even a driveway, make sure if you have that violation already, you kick on your dash cam. And I don't care how long my dash cam is. I don't care if I'm watching you for 20 minutes. I still have my initial violation, and I'm waiting for you to leave because I don't listen. You pull into a gas station, and I never see you get out of that gas station. I never see you pump gas, and I put myself in a spot where I can see you, but you can't see me, and you leave. Guess what? That's going to my report. I have my initial
Right.
violation, going back to pretextual stops. My initial violation that I'm stopping you for. And one, it's documented. Two, it's visually and audio, not video. Yeah, it's on video now. And you don't need to go look for another violation just because they broke that initial public roadway contact.
For sure.
So,
Makes sense.
listen, there's a lot more myths in law enforcement. We kind of just wanted to pick a couple, talk about each and every one. If you guys have other myths that you guys want to pitch in the comments and, have us talk about, we'll gladly do that. It's just, those are kind of the bigger known ones. And that kind of goes back into where if you don't know or you're unsure, that's where these people that are criminals are going to beat you because they're going to give you pushback.
For sure.
And that leads to officer second guessing. And obviously we want you guys to be the most comfortable, confident, and the most prepared. That way, so when you guys have contact with these people, you're ready to play chess.
If you guys have any questions, shoot us an email, hit us up on Instagram. We'll answer them or put them in the comments. We'll get those squared away for you. Or if you just want to have a conversation about something, we can do that as well.
If you couldn't tell, we like talking. So
Yeah.
if we both kind of got big mouths. So we'll gladly take any questions. We'll gladly try to get back to you as soon as we can. But
if you haven't already, you can follow our Spotify, YouTube, where you'll find our podcast. Follow our Instagram right there behind us. You'll see some pretty gangster shit on there. Videos of dope, guns, little reels here and there. So, like I said, hit us up if you have any questions. We appreciate you guys.
Be safe.
Always. Watch each other's back.
Watch each other's back and go out there and establish your baseline. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.